Good morning, everybody. It's Kathy from Wheel Maven, and today we're going to do more of a beginner basics video. So this is just going to be the very basic parts of your wheel. So let's sit down at the wheel and get started. Alrighty. So here we are. Sitting at the wheel. There's my checkered pants. This is a castle style wheel. It happens to be a matchless, but the style, the reason why it's so up and down is a castle style. Your wheel may look a little bit different than this, different arrangements, but the parts will be basically the same. We're not digging deep into the parts. This is just going to be just so you know the basics of how to get started. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the treadles, which are what you might call your foot pedals. So the treadles, the only thing they do is they move that big wheel. So I'm just slowly treadling and moving the big wheel, and notice nothing else is moving. That's because I have my drive band really super loose, right? The drive band's doing nothing right now. So the only thing that has to move when you get going is you treadle and the big wheel moves, and that's called your flywheel. Okay, now up here, so stand up to show you a little better. This is your bobbin, this part right here. And this, the U-shaped part, is the flyer. So we're going to put the drive band in this notch right here. And see how it's tighter now. And let me sit back down. And now we'll treadle. And now everybody moves. So all I did was use the drive band to add power to the flyer and the bobbin. Now a note on the drive band. I'm sure you've heard the term single drive and double drive. All that means is if you have one loop coming up from your flywheel to your bobbin assembly, that's a single drive. It just means once around. And I have my loop. My loop does both. It works for double drive and single drive, but it is functioning. So it's 2 times as long as it needs to be, but it is functioning in single drive right now. If I had it in double drive, it would be split and it would come up in more of a V. But since it all comes up together in one continuous loop around, it's being used in single drive. I can adjust it a little bit. In double drive, it would look a little bit more like that. You could tell it was coming up twice. But I'll put it back because it's not exactly accurate. So anyway, the wheel is set up in single drive because, as I mentioned, the drive band is coming from the flywheel up around the bobbin once. And that's most people are going to start there. Now this wheel is currently set up in Scotch tension, and that's going to be a touch harder to see. Let me pop back up again. If you look here, you see on the end of the bobbin right there is that little band. And the drive band's back here. So this one's something else. This is the brake band. And if I'll turn the it is. You see the brake band. Now right here again, where is it on my screen? This is the drive band. We're looking at this one down here. That's the brake band. And it goes to this assembly under here that has a spring. And on this particular wheel, watch the spring. See how it jumped up and tightened? That's me tightening the tension. And now let it back down, loosen it up. Well, I'm moving around a lot. So I tighten and loosen. Tighten and loosen. And when you're tightening, go slow. That was a mega adjustment. Go slow, slow, slow. And that adjustment, if you're sitting at the wheel, let me park it. That adjustment's right here. That was this knob. And to be clear, the tension, which once again is this knob, which makes this spring pull, it makes this loop, let me get it back in, makes this loop a little bit tighter. That's the loop where if you're spinning and the yarn won't go up on the wheel doesn't seem to want to take it, you need to increase your tension. Let me put you on pause for a second. And this is applied yarn, so I really don't need to run it up on the wheel again, but I'll put a little bit of it up on there to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I just brought some of the yarn back out, put it through these hooks, and then through the orifice here. I just reach through with my little tool. I'll show it to you. Where'd it go? There it is. This baby. You just reach through like that, grab the yarn and pull it back through. And get that out. Usually don't do this one-handed, holding the camera. Anyway, so I pulled out some of my plied yarn. And watch, I have the tension set to like nothing right now. So watch when I treadle, I'm going to turn the flywheel. And since I'm plying, I'm going the opposite way. You're probably thinking I'm going to go. I'm adding twist, and then I go to let it back on, and it's like not going. So it's not a matter of twist. It has plenty of twist. What I need is for it to pull it up on there. So when you need it to pull it up on there, that's where this little guy comes in. You turn it to where your spring just starts to move, and then try it again. Now, see how a little bit of slow treadling makes it go right up on there. And it's just that little tension adjustment right here, which made this spring pull tighter, which made it pull, add a little bit more resistance right here. And that's what causes the yarn to go up onto the bobbin with this wheel. Now your wheel will have these parts. It might not look exactly the same, but it'll have these basic parts. And of course, this is a quickie overview. There's a lot more technical terms that we could get into, but these are the basics that you need to know to get started. One more thing I didn't mention earlier. If you are treadling and the top isn't turning, none of this up here is turning, but you think it should be, chances are your drive band isn't tight enough. So if your drive band is not stretchy, you have to do something to the wheel to tighten this up, which means you're increasing the distance between the flywheel and this assembly here. And the way this works is we basically change the angle of this and raise it up a teeny bit. And how you do that is this right here, and you turn it. And what it'll do is it ends up like raising this whole bobbin, because if you look at it, it sits crooked. this end is higher than this end. But as you increase the tension on the brake, or pardon me, on the drive band, it'll raise the whole thing up like that, which makes this quite a bit tighter. Depending on what ratios you're using, you might need to run it almost really at an angle and sometimes almost straight. It just depends. And that is just how this wheel adjusts. Your wheel might do it a little different. But anyway, there is the basic overview. And then I do have, that's a lazy Kate, and it's just a place to hold your extra bobbins. It doesn't matter really what shape it is. Everybody has their favorites. Some are up and down, some are kind of slanted that sit, you know, more like this. This one's tensioned. It has a band around here to hold the bobbins. It actually should go up here, but I tend not to use that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So there you go. There's your basic setup. If you have any questions, hit me up. Love to hear from you. In case you didn't know, I have a podcast called Woolmaven Handspinning, and I would love to have you listen. I also have a Facebook group. It's called Handspinning Yarn with a Spinning Wheel. You can hear the geese in the background. And I also have a newsletter. You can go to woolmaven.com, sign up for the newsletter, or just look it up in the links in the description below. Thanks for your time. Wonderful to have you here, and hope this helps.